CEO to CEO. My name's David Swope. I'm president and CEO of the Better Business Bureau. And I'm really lucky to be joined by Pepper Lang today. And we're going to talk a little bit about the Albuquerque Publishing Company turning 100 years old. Fourth generation owner, operator. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing good, David. Thanks for having me.
Well, so I'd asked you about your title, and you said which one. Tell us a little bit about what you're working on these days.
Okay. Well, we'll start with Albuquerque Publishing Company, which is where you started. So I'm the Senior Vice President, Chief Development Officer, Business Development at the Journal, and helping kind of overhaul some of our advertising and build out some new products, some relevant products. And then I'm the president of Journal Center and the president of Lico Grounds Management, which is a landscape maintenance and construction company.
Wow, that's fantastic, because I mean we do refer to it as the Journal Center.
Yeah.
And I mean that's where the big building was, and the trucks would roll out with the newspaper. I mean, fourth generation, so you probably had a lot of conversations around the dinner table, a lot of conversations at holidays about what was going on with the business. From your perspective of having that unique insight, talk a little bit about kind of the struggles and how you're working with kind of the theory of relevancy.
Oh, wow. So, yeah, I mean, the word relevant is probably one of the single most used words at the Journal right now.
Right.
In the world of influencers and algorithmic fed social media, news, bloggers, I mean, you name it, we are in the fight for relevance. We have a tactical advantage in that we do have professional journalists that are constantly striving every day, checking their biases at the door, trying to check their facts, lead with facts, leave opinions out. And so we have an advantage there, but selling and reminding people of that authority and the importance of screening their news, whether it's local or national, is really the challenge. And so, we're competing in a saturated world of information, over information. Right. And I don't even think and I speak for myself too, I don't think we realize how much algorithms are feeding what we think. And so our challenge in the next 100 years is figuring out how to meet people where they're at.
That's fantastic.
We talk a lot about, what's our why, what's our values, what's our why, what's our mission.
Yeah.
That was drilled into me in the military. If we lead with our why, we can adjust our how. And it's easy to get caught up that our why is print newspaper, and we're not going away from print newspaper. In fact, I think there's going to be a resurgence of that. It's kind of exciting to hold on to, but it's important in the fight for relevance to constantly reassess our how and add things, not necessarily take away things, but add things. And that's why we have a podcast network, and that's why we have shorter versions, summarized newsletters by journalists. It takes a lot of time to make those things. That's why we post social media the way we do, and the way we don't post social media, you're not going to see a lot of ads on there. Right. And so we're striving for relevance in social media and email inboxes and podcast networks, YouTube, you name it. And so I could go on for hours, as you could tell, but that's really the gist of it.
Well, let's talk a little bit about June 27th. You have a celebration in which the public can actually participate as well, and celebrating your accomplishments, different things that we've done. What are some of the things how people could engage and help celebrate with you?
Oh, thanks. Well, first and foremost, we survive off subscriptions,
right?
So we need people to assess where they get their news and to continue to subscribe, even if it's just digital. That's really helpful, and that will help us continue to grow, because we need a loyal audience. We need people to join us in our mission, because the profitability model has changed drastically over time. We need help. So our big ask is join us when it comes to June 27th. So somewhere in June, depending on which history books you look at, is our 100th birthday.
Okay.
The newspaper is older than that. 20 plus years older than that, but it's 100 years in our family.
Okay.
So when Mr. Pepperday bought the paper, and we've done some some really good Sunday editions on our history, which we'll continue to do all year. Which, by the way, is a great way to engage and learn the history.
Right.
Because it's not just about us, but it's about the cities and its evolution over the last
Absolutely.
100 years and how the newspaper interacted in that. But on June 27th, we're partnering with the Isotopes, which we already do, but we're kind of taking over. Not taking over is not the right word. We are their feature sponsor for that night.
Yeah.
They're celebrating like a throwback with Dukes. And then
fantastic.
we are celebrating our 100th birthday, and we just kind of decided, do we want to invite people to our place, or do we want to go somewhere fun? And let's do something fun that's part of our community. And so we have a whole campaign this year called Into Our Community. So let's go celebrate our birthday with everybody, and let's go do it a staple in the community. And the Isotopes is one of those staples. And so we'll be there we're going to be throwing. We have a 40-plus year employee that will be retiring this year, who's throwing the opening pitch.
Wow.
We have a room filled, countless faces in these pictures that all worked 25-plus years with us. We have a really proud legacy that we're trying to tell the story, but we're not stopping on the past focus, the history focus. We're celebrating that while we're really looking forward what we're doing into the future with Journal Plus, which is our kind of our digital push, co-branded with Albuquerque Journal.
Yeah. Well, I think when I think of the newspaper, one of the things that I think of is community, right? You had the sports section, you had the business section, you have all those sections that include people, but yet, many family members I had would sit around and the Sunday paper was a big thing. Right? My coffee, reading it from front to back. Yeah. I used to laugh that my wife was always reading the classified section for jobs, but yet she wasn't looking for a job. And I kept thinking to myself, I don't understand that. My dad jokingly, of course, says I read the obituary every morning to make sure I'm not dead. That type of stuff. And I think that what we don't realize is with the evolution that you're going through, that some people's sense of community is changing. The older population that they like to hold it and they had it in their hands and they would spend time and they would come back to it, where we've got such an immediacy of delivery of news, right? Yeah. And accuracy and all of this stuff. And like you said, some of it with algorithms is being kind of catered to what they think your tastes are, instead of being able to hear the other side and having, a debate, if you will. And so I love for the community. I think it's great to do it in a very public way like that. Because in a lot of ways, all of our businesses have kind of gotten a little smaller. Because we've got remote workers, we've got, the cost of property, as you know. And in some ways, we don't need as many things as we used to have. And so I think that the scale of things have changed. Yeah. But the scale of community has never changed. No. And I love how you guys have always embraced the different columns and stuff to kind of address different parts of the community. So how do you feel that maybe that community connection has evolved?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. How has our community connection evolved? I think of this phone that's in my pocket, and I think of what a powerful tool and terrible toy it is.
Correct.
And the tool part of it is exciting. You can be in the middle of nowhere using a map and making an emergency call if you need to, and I can get to your front door here without even thinking twice. I don't even have to plan. I just get in my car. But at the same time, if I'm not careful, that thing is releasing chemicals in my brain that is designed to consume my attention. Yeah. And I think what we're seeing in community, and to be clear, I'm a zillennial. So technically I didn't have a smartphone until my late 20s. I'm somewhere between the millennial and the X's. Okay. And I'm it's either zennial or zillennial. So I have a unique advantage in that I at least got through college and all that stuff without a smartphone. Yeah. So I remember what it was like, and of course I don't remember what things before that were like, but so I think that this phone has probably changed the game as much as maybe the automobile has, right? And so, I think what happens when it becomes a chemical releasing toy is I think that community kind of dies, right? Like it's hard to, it's really hard to to engage with people when you only have so much time every day.
Exactly.
And this thing takes so much of our time. So I think that when it comes to the relevance of our paper, one of the problems that we have is definitely even at the PhD level, shortened attention spans.
Yeah.
People wanting things in smaller bite-sized bits, and so I think we have this phone has changed everything and how we relate to community. I mean, you just don't have to go far. Get on an airplane, go sit at a dinner table in a restaurant, and there's not a lot of community happening around tables anymore. And there's exceptions everywhere, but
that's true.
So as a young family and a dad, that's something we're fighting for. But we feel it too. It sure is easier to have a nice dinner if the kiddos aren't throwing forks across the room because they're staring at a screen. Right. So I think that you can't start and talk about community without starting with that phone. I mean, it's you and everything you and I are fighting for relevance in our businesses has to do with that thing.
Yeah, that's such a good point. I'm just curious because I think you're as introspective as I am. I was just curious, what would you think that your grandfather would think about where we are and what's happening in the world today?
Oh my gosh, I don't think he'd even.
Because I mean, you're sitting here. We were talking about strategic planning, before, and how that's one thing that the CEOs, vice presidents, and stuff is yes, we have to make some day-to-day decisions, but we also have to try and forecast. We have to try and figure out what we're going to do moving forward, and and the pace and speed of everything is so much faster to where 5-10-year planning in the past is maybe 6 months, right? And technology is evolving, and you talked about the smartphone and the change. AI is that next level of game changer.
Oh my gosh.
And if we don't get it right, we can be in trouble. And I think that it's where established organizations such as ourselves. I mean, the BBB is 112 years old.
Wow.
We've been in New Mexico for 80 years, and we appreciate celebrating that with you through the journal last year and our special insert. But if we don't get it right, and I think that not only should we be excited about that technology should also be reaching back and saying, what did my predecessors do right? What are those key elements that we need to hold on to going forward to make sure we get it right? Has Albuquerque Publishing, has your operation actually thought about how gonna lean into, because we can't stop it, it's gonna happen. Lean into AI?
Yeah, I mean, I literally just had a mind-blowing meeting yesterday about AI. What I will say is we're leaning into it. I don't know that you can lean fast enough.
Right.
I mean, this thing is that when you talk to the authorities on this, you think you kind of know because you're using the Gemini feature in your search queries and it's giving you an answer, not a website. And I'm AI advanced, right? I'm using it to help me refine a business plan, a marketing plan, or an email. And then I talk with these pros and where things are going, and I go, it's overwhelming, and it's like the train is already ahead of us and we're trying to run and catch on to it. I will say, so the conversation yesterday was about this very thing. Our number one challenge is to be, because we hold ourselves to these journalistic standards, which are never perfect and nobody is unbiased, but we're constantly fighting for that.
Thank you for that, by the way.
Yeah, yeah.
No, I mean,
it's hard.
It's super important.
The world is not rewarding it yet, but I think we're coming back to it. I think people are becoming and starting to look more and more, be more discerning in their consumptions and be like, maybe it's not the best thing just to listen to people influence me all the time. So we were just meeting with a third-party AI group yesterday, and we're talking about if our goal is to be the authority on local New Mexico news. Let's talk about what came out of the legislative session.
Right.
If our goal is that, but when people search, and it used to be, okay, I search on Google. If I wasn't a subscriber, I didn't read my paper every day, I didn't have the app for Albuquerque Journal, then I would just search Google, wait, what did the governor decide to do on healthcare?
Right.
Well, at least it used to give our website, you could go in there and maybe you'd get past the paywall for an article or two, and then you'd be informed. Well, now, if I search that same question on my phone, I'm actually going to get an AI, if you're signed into Gmail,
right.
I'm going to get an AI answer that says, well, based off all these tiny little branded sources that I can't even tell that are ticking across 1,000,000 miles an hour, this is what the governor decided to do. This is what the legislative passed for healthcare. And I have to figure out how to put good answers there to make myself generative engine optimized to where when people get that query, they're not pulling off somebody in their grandma's basement with a blog. They're pulling off of my journalist that spent the entire 60 days up there, falling out of their chairs by the end of that, exhausted, listening to everything.
It is exhausting.
It's exhausting. And so the challenge for us is always now in the next window for us, and we don't have time to wait, is to generative engine optimize our content to give people the right and better and balanced and fact-filled answers to their questions, which is not an easy thing to do. New York Times and Wall Street Journal, there's an article about the two of them fighting on this.
Yeah.
One of them said, "Don't touch it, I'll sue you." One of them said, "Put my brand on there, you can have it. Just show me." And you can imagine which publication would go more towards the business end.
Right.
And so, but that was a year ago.
Yeah.
They were already talking about this.
Yeah. Well, and I think that organizations such as ours, the Better Business Bureau is a database.
Yeah.
First and foremost. I mean, we've been collecting data for over 100 years, right?
Right.
And likewise, your journalists have been writing articles for at least that long, if not longer. And now that we are getting to the AI and the computers are fast enough that they could read all of that, right? No human can read all bits of information.
No.
So to be able to compile that, and that's actually where ChatGPT, Genie, Perplexity, all of these other ones are now leaning into the level of authority of the information. And so actually the Better Business Bureau and business profiles have actually started moving up because we became a website because that's the automation, if you will, but yet we're still based on data and verified data. And I do think that that's also where I think they can also learn from the amount of efforts that we put into the accuracy of it, right? Because right now, our main focus is data quality. I mean, is our data correct? How correct is it? How often are we updating it? And I think that a lot of times the population doesn't realize that we re-vet every business every 2 years, or anytime there's a call or a complaint. So literally, we could be updating every 3 months, on a particular business profile. So I do think that there is some hope, and they can learn from us as well and our organizations. And so I personally wanted to be able to take this opportunity to thank you, to thank your family for all of the struggles and all of the things that you went through to be able to produce what is, as you were sharing with me, is actually more rare that, for a locally owned, family owned business in publishing to be able to survive. And I know your family's probably made some of those sacrifices, to make that happen. And so the BBB wants to thank Albuquerque Publishing, one, for being accredited with us over 45 years as well, but two, being a partner in the community to make a difference. Because in the end, we all have to make a profit for our boards or our ownership or whatever, right? I mean, there's a reality to that. But in the end, to be able to do it, doing it the right way, in spite of everything.
Wow.
Right? And so I wanted to thank you.
Thank you very
for
much.
100 years and 100 years more.
Well,
and
thank you.
Multiple generations.
Yeah, and I take that thank you
Yeah.
humbly because there's been great men that have walked before me that stewarded this well, that adapted. We've always been adapting.
Yeah.
Just happens to be the pace is a little bit faster to keep up with now. But thank you very much, and thank you for what you guys are doing. I mean, it is really, I did grow up where that BBB logo
Right.
on a window of a business really stood out. I mean,
Right.
you had to earn that thing. And so
Yeah.
I appreciate
And you still
your work
do.
too. And you still do.
You still do. We got
Yeah.
to do a better job of letting people know what that the logo means
Right.
and why it should be important. But I want to thank you all for as long as you stayed with this. Maybe you jumped in, jumped back out. But this is what we're trying to do with our CEO to CEO segments: is get a little bit deeper and talk a little bit more about things behind the scenes, other than just the dollars and the cents. I'm David Swope, President and CEO of the Better Business Bureau, serving New Mexico and Southwest Colorado. Please join us next time.